like garbage, so just a warning. Uh, this is the bedhead entrepreneur podcast. No.
What's up, everybody? Adam Longnecker here with Brad Goss. Super excited to have Brad here today. We're talking about how he got a ridiculous amount of Google search impressions through Google image search in a matter of 30 days with a new software that he created. Really excited about this, Brad. This thing looks really cool. What I'm really excited to talk to you about is I know you presented this software to the Black Hat conference in Vegas, and tell me a little bit about that. I mean, how was it presenting to those folks? Have you ever presented to a group like that before?
It's funny. I do a lot of talks at a lot of conferences, and it's very rare. My wife Claire will testify to this fact. It's very rare that I get nervous. I don't usually, freak out too much about the audience. And the last two times I've been nervous have been speaking at adult conferences because those guys are really, the adult entertainment guys are really dialed into the tech, and they know their stuff. So often the crowd that I speak to is actually fairly green. They're usually newbies, and they're easier to talk to because, let's face it, the lower down someone is on the ladder, knowledge-wise, the easier it is to wow them, right? Because your basic knowledge can wow someone who's just starting out, but someone who's been at it for 10 years and is, typically the black hat community of search engine optimizer guys, they know everything, and a lot of the time they're like, why are you boring me with this 5-year-old information? And so I was really worried and nervous that they weren't going to like it. And I also had no idea what to expect from this crowd because I've never spoken at a Black Hat event. In fact, I don't think there ever has been a Black Hat, search engine optimization event that I'm aware of. So I didn't know what to expect from the crowd. So I was a little nervous about that. Didn't know what to expect. If they would like my talk, if they would get value out of it, and I can usually tell if a talk goes well by the number of questions I get at the end, and they were lined up at the microphone. And when I walked off the stage, there were a ton of people coming up to me asking me to email them this presentation that I'm going to do with you. And I realized, if I send out the slides to people, the PDF slides, it's really not going to have the same impact as if maybe I got on a call and recorded it with somebody, and that's why we're doing this, because the Black Hat guys love this talk, and it's a white hat method. So it's the white hat method that blew away the Black Hat marketers. So it's kind of cool that way.
Well, that's very cool.
So should we start?
Yeah, tell us about this thing. I'm really intrigued. I mean, I've taken a look at this software and it just looks really cool. So I'm excited to learn more about it. And the number of Google image impressions that you got in 30 days is just unheard of. That's awesome.
The cool part about this too is I'll take you through all this, but how I got this was purely by accident. I wish I could sit here and tell you that I'm some super genius and I cooked this up in my basement, during the polar vortex last year or something, and it just didn't happen that way. It was kind of by accident, so it's a little more fun. And I've updated this a little bit because I did this 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas to the Black Hat crowd, and so I actually, I'll show you. I've made some updates since then because we've actually done more impressions in the last 30 days. We've done over 18 million, so wow. I'll share that data with you. But first, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself, because I find on these kinds of calls, people are really funny about who is this guy? Why should I listen to him? Why is he such a big deal? How does he know anything about SEO? These are the kinds of questions I ask myself whenever a webinar is starting. Like, who is this jackass?
Sure.
So I thought I'd find the most jackass picture I could of myself to go along with the who's this jackass type question. So I've been an online entrepreneur since 1997 now. Dude, a lot of guys, in the biz who are online marketers will tell you that they've been online since 1997. which basically means they dialed up to CompuServe or AOL or something in 1997. It doesn't mean that they actually had a business online or they worked the web, as we used to say back in those days. But I actually started my first online business in 1997. I built my first website, started doing business and transactions on the internet in 1997. So I've been around the block more than most people have. And a big claim to fame, if you Google me, you'll find out that I actually spent 18 months at the top of Google for the single word porn. I've been #1 for porn on Google. And now I know, people are watching this going, porn, oh my God, shut this off. This is going to burn my eyes or whatever. We're not going to show you any porn today. Sorry. But, this is, a very simple, equation. If someone has ranked at the top of Google for a word like porn, in fact, my site ranked at the top of Google for porn, free porn, and porn movies, getting us 250,000 unique visitors every single day. So I know a little bit about search engine optimization.
Yeah, just a little.
But I also have been beaten by the Google. So, I have this saying, if you live by the Google, you'll die by the Google. I love to say the Google just because it sounds so awkward. I'm looking it up on the Google right now. So I spent 18 months at the top of Google for porn, and of course in that time frame everyone thought I was the Google guru. Oh my God, Brad's the guy. If you need to know SEO, obviously he's the guy. But then that one day hit, and guess what? I got slapped. Literally, went from #1 to number 117 overnight, and my business took a huge hit financially. I mean, you can imagine how much money I might make getting 250,000 visitors a day to my website being #1 for porn on Google. I mean, advertisers would call, and the phone number that was associated with the Who Is on my account, rang through. I had a receptionist that would answer the phone, and all day long, advertisers would call and say, I want to put a banner on your front page, name your price. And, it wasn't like other things, when you sell advertising where they're trying to get the best CPM rates and they're trying to get you down on the clicks. It's like, nope, you're at the top of Google for porn. How much? Just tell me a price and I will put this banner up. And it got to the point where, just the highest bidder and, the right advertising fix or the right advertising mix got placed. So we made a lot of money, and then in 2007 I lost a lot of money. So that's my backstory when it comes to SEO, and in fact I swore off of SEO. This method that I'm teaching you today was total accident. Google was not on my radar. We'll talk about that a little bit. I'm Canadian. I always like to say sorry when I say I'm Canadian for 2 reasons, right? The #1 reason is, of course, the stereotype is we all apologize way too much. I clearly probably fall into that category. I'm definitely your typical Canadian. If you bump into me, I will apologize to you. That's just the way we're brought up. So you could knock the groceries out of my hand, and I'll be on the ground saying I'm sorry. And the other funny thing about Canadians is we actually say sorry instead of the way Americans say it, which is sorry.
Yeah, right.
Somehow it's become an Indian dress for you guys over there. I don't know how. I'm a best-selling author. I wrote my own book all by myself, and I self-published it. Got to #1 on Amazon in all my business categories. Got to number 40 overall on all of Amazon products for a weekend. So I'm pretty proud of that. I think my mom's pretty proud too. I'm a board advisor for several companies. So I sit on the board of a company most of you have probably heard of called JV Zoo. A lot of companies now give me shares in exchange for my advice, right? Because I'm as I've established here, I'm a bit of a veteran in internet marketing. So I have a lot of knowledge about things like scale. It's one thing to have a website that gets 250 visitors a day. It's another thing to have a website that gets 250,000 visitors a day. So I help a lot of companies struggling with scale, trying to grow. And I'm a geek with limited coding skills, so I'm going to show you some stuff today. We're going to geek out a little bit today. I'm not going to lie. This is going to be, it's not going to be unfriendly to newbies. In fact, the solution that I'm going to show you at the end is definitely newbie friendly. I am going to sell you something at the end, but I'm also going to show you how to do all of this for free. So if you don't have the money to buy the software I'm going to show you at the end of this, I'm going to show you the alternatives for how to do it for free. So there's no, you're going to learn some stuff on here that's really valuable, and if you don't have any cash, you're still going to be, happy that you stuck to the end on this one. So I'm a geek with limited coding skills, just enough to make me dangerous. So here's the slide that I used at the Black Hat conference to show. This is Google Webmaster Tools, a screenshot from Google Webmaster Tools, to show you the 16.8 million impressions that I got. I wanted to update it because in the last 2 weeks, my numbers have gone up. Right now, I'm up to 18,100,362 impressions in the last 30 days. So my numbers are increasing. I just wanted to kind of show that because a lot of people think, oh, he's sharing his method now because it actually doesn't work anymore. And that screenshot he showed, people are very skeptical. I am too. And so sometimes they'll be like, oh, that screenshot he showed is old. And I want to show you that this is increasing, not decreasing. So in the last 2 weeks, our number for the last 30 days has gone up by 2 million impressions. And you can also see on here the number of clicks, 95,462 clicks. So I'm getting traffic here, and it's free traffic. So I just want to show that to establish this is my Google Webmaster Tools. I also want to show you the last 3 months because that's an important picture too, right? Like, did I come out of nowhere with this? I've been doing this for 2 years. So the last 3 months, which is the biggest picture that Google Webmaster Tools will give us. They won't give us any more data than this. 50 million, almost 51 million impressions. So from a history perspective, right, this is looking pretty good.
Yeah, brilliant.
Just having a sip of coffee there. Okay. So what am I going to cover today? I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible because we're going to get to some drill down and some detail here, and you may get lost along the way, but stick with us to the end because this will tie together. And if you have any questions, hopefully we'll be able to answer them at the end. So what am I going to cover today? I'm going to cover how I got, well, now it's 18.1 million impressions with Google image search. This is in a month. The method that I'm teaching you is 100% white hat. Now, if you're listening to this and you're watching this and you have no idea what white hat means or what black hat means, white hat is like the good guys' way of doing things, and black hat is the more evil way of doing things. So black hat search engine optimization in general is usually taking advantage of loopholes and exploits and milking them really hard, but then you lose very quickly. So this is white hat. We do it the right way. We're not going to piss off Google. We're not taking advantage of any loopholes in the algorithm or any tricks. This is clean search engine optimization. So it's not going to get you banned by Google, unless of course you abuse this. If you're watching this and you think, oh my God, I can start falsifying keywords to get people to search for one thing and then show them another thing. If you're gonna tag something as a clown picture and then show me some porno or something, you're going to get banned by Google no matter what you do. So if you do it on point with the way we're doing it, you won't get banned by Google. And I'm going to take questions at the end. Pretty straightforward. So I want to share the website with you because this is where I watch a lot of webinars, and a lot of search engine optimization guys hide the website. They don't tell you the website that they're ranking. They go, oh, well, I don't want to tell you that because that this and that can happen, and people can. That's because they're doing something sketchy, and they're afraid to show you their cards, right? There's usually some reason why they're not sharing the website that they're ranking. This is the website that I'm ranking, VECTORTOONS.com. It's no secret that I own this website, and what I'm doing is not that sophisticated or crazy or it doesn't scare me. I'm not afraid that someone from Google is going to see this because ultimately I'm teaching good search engine optimization techniques that are recommended inside Google Webmaster Tools. So there's nothing sketchy going on here. I've got nothing to hide. So this is the website I'm ranking. If you've seen a lot of SEO webinars, you'll understand the importance of me sharing this with you. Most people don't do this. So what is VECTORTOONS? Well, I sell stock vector cartoon images. So if you don't know what a vector image is, it's pretty simple. It's a cartoon image. Vector means that it's infinitely scalable, so it looks just as good on your business card as it does on a billboard or on the side of your truck or whatever that might be. It's an e-commerce platform, so I sell images individually or in bundles. And the main customer base I deal with is designers. Whether you're a do-it-yourself designer, you need to design a sales page or a flyer for your business or something, and you need a cartoon, to go with that of a person or an object or whatever that might be. You come to my website and you find the image you want, and it's usually $2, and you download it, and it's yours. It's a pretty straightforward business model, and we'll talk about other business models at the end, hopefully, if we have time. But it's a pretty straightforward model. We sell images. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that, right, if you're trying to rank for images. And I also wanted to show you, again, this is the sitemaps feature in Google Images, or in Google Webmaster Tools. I only have 6,300 images indexed. So I don't want you to think that you have to have 18 million images to get 18 million impressions. That's not the case at all. Just a few hundred or a few thousand images can bring you a massive amount of impressions if properly done. So I just wanted to share that, because I think a lot of people think that I have just as many images as I have impressions, and it's not the case at all. So the tech we use, I'm going to go through this really quickly. This is for the geeks. We use WordPress to run our website. We use WooCommerce to run our e-commerce platform. It's a free plugin. We use a bunch of WooCommerce extensions to, there's a million of them, but we use a handful to make it easier to use. We use Amazon CloudFront just to host all of our images, because we have so many, and I plan to scale to 18 million images one day, and then hopefully have like billions of impressions. But so we use CloudFront because it's scalable. FileMaker Pro is optional. In this case, you're not going to need it. And then Exif Utility or any other metadata editor, and we're going to take you through that in a minute. So the challenge is simple. When I built VECTORTOONS, it was one of these businesses that was just kind of born out of having the assets. So when I wrote my book, I hired a full-time cartoonist, and she was so good at what she did, Adam, that I had to keep her. Like, I was just, I had her for a couple of months, and she was drawing all these pictures of me for my book and the promo that I was doing for the book, and I was like, this girl's really good at what she does. And then when she was done, all my book images, I didn't have the heart to let her go. I was just like, she came to me and she was like, I love this. I was a VA before this, and I'm really good at cartoons, but nobody ever hired me to do cartoons before, and it's been my dream. And how do you say no to somebody like that, right? So I was like, okay, keep drawing stuff. I'll figure it out, right? And I had her doing stuff for sales copy and for ads that we were doing. I just had her drawing all this custom stuff for us. Before I knew it, I had this massive catalog of cartoons that I had only used once or twice in my own marketing, and I thought I should catalog these and put them up on a website and sell them, because if I'm using them, other people are going to want to use them too. But in that process, I didn't want to build a business that relied on search engine optimization, because, as you know, I've been down that road before. I've lived by the Google, and I've died by the Google, and I don't want to do it again. But I did. And I wanted to catalog thousands of images for search retrieval offline and online. So this was the important part. The graphics that we use are PDF files. They're PDF vector graphics. They work in Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, all the major graphics applications. And we wanted to be able to catalog them so that, if I download an image from a site like iStockPhoto or one of these other guys, they don't have metadata in them. So once I save them to my hard drive, they're really hard to find again later. They don't name them, to match the title that I searched for, any of that kind of stuff. So I wanted to be able to catalog them so that you could find them on your hard drive just as easily as you could on the net. I needed to develop a top-down workflow. So I wanted to start with the vector PDF that my cartoonist provides, and I wanted to finish with an optimized WordPress page or post published and public and ready to go. And I didn't want to have too many steps in between. And I wanted to automate or outsource every step in the process. Now this is really important because I get in my own way a lot of the time. I'm really great at coming up with all this workflow stuff and all these great ideas, just terrible at executing. So I needed to set this up in such a way where I could hire some outsourcers, have my cartoonist provide the graphics and have someone figure out how to catalog them, and then I'd have this database that would do all the rest of the work for me. So I'm going to take you through that in just a second here. Okay. So, sorry, I had to mute for a second because I had to sneeze. I was like literally on the sneeze. So, all right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you well, I think. Everybody good? Yeah, looks like it.
Okay. So, metadata. We're going to talk about this now. This slide might be overwhelming you. Don't worry. Every image on, whether it's a JPEG, a PDF, a PNG, most major image formats contain something called metadata. And this is data that's buried inside the file. It's not a separate file. It's not a database or a text file that goes along with the image. It's actually embedded inside the image. You just don't see it when you open it in most graphics applications. But the best example I can use is if you take a picture with your phone, right? Your phone records the date and time the picture was taken, and it records the camera settings, so the shutter speed and the aperture and all these other things. And if you have the settings configured properly on your phone, it also records the exact GPS location that the photo was taken. So if you move that photo to your computer later and you open up that photo, that's how your computer knows what time the picture was taken and where it was taken. And if you upload it to certain websites like Flickr or whatever, it will actually catalog your image and show people other images taken in that same spot, because that's how a lot of image sharing sites are cataloging images now. They're looking at the image and they're saying, okay, all these images have GPS tags, they all have all this metadata. We can sort them by this metadata, so if someone wants to see all the pictures that were taken in a certain park, they can pick a GPS location and see all the amateur photos that were taken in that location. It's pretty cool. But I found that with this metadata, there were some fields that I could utilize to make my images easier to find on my hard drive. So those fields were title, description, and keywords. Those were the main fields that I wanted to utilize. Of course, there's dozens of other fields. We don't need to use them all. But depending on what you're doing, you might have different needs for different fields. So these are sort of the standard ones. I've bolded the ones that we like to use more often than not. So I want to take you through my 6-step workflow for how I get the cartoon image and how I wind up with a finished WordPress page. And then I'm going to get into some nuts and bolts for how that looks. So this is just kind of a high-level overview of what that looks like. Okay, so where are we here? So we start with a PDF image. Now this could be a JPEG, but in my case I start off with a PDF. And we'll go through that in a minute. But if you don't understand what a PDF image is, it doesn't matter. It's no different than a Photoshop document or a PNG or another JPEG that you get, a high-res JPEG or something like that. In our case, we're using the PDF image format. But this also applies, just so you know, to PDF documents. So if you have a whole bunch of PDF documents that you want to index in Google, Google likes PDFs just as much as it likes images, and if you add metadata to your PDF documents, you'll have a similar effect, which is kind of cool. Okay, so we go from a PDF image to a database, and I'm going to share that database with you here in a minute. And then from the database, so what happens is the database is given to, the database could be something as simple as an Excel sheet. It doesn't have to be, some fancy database app. I have one, but I'm going to share that with you. But you can do this on an Excel sheet. There's a number of ways you can do this without understanding database technology or having database software. But what happens is the PDF image is given to my assistant in the Philippines who writes my titles and descriptions and keywords. And the database is a simple collection of titles, descriptions, keywords, and categories. Now, you may not need all of these fields, but in my case, I need them all because that's the way I'm cataloging. And then I have, from that database, I'm able to export the data. And so how it works is, EXIF Utility is the software that we're going to show you here today. It is the database that contains all of this image data. and now that we have a title and description, keywords, and categories, we can actually embed all that data inside the PDF. And then what we do is we take that PDF and we convert it to a JPEG, right? So now we have your typical standard image file, but we watermark the JPEG. So all those thousands of images that I told you about that are in Google Images, every one of them is watermarked with my URL. So I'm getting 18 million impressions every 30 days. All those people are seeing the watermark and the name of my website. So I'm getting some incredible branding out of this, right? I've got 18 million image impressions coming in from Google, and they're looking at my JPEGs, which are all watermarked with VECTORTOONS.com on them. So, so I take those images, watermark them. Now, depending on what you're doing, you may or may not want to watermark your images, but it works for me. And that metadata goes with them. So now that's the image that gets indexed in Google, and Google reads the title, the description, the keywords, the copyright info, all that stuff. Okay. Then I take the database again and I export out a CSV. Okay, the CSV is a comma-separated values document. It's a very common document. You can open it up in Excel or any other spreadsheet application. But what we do is we apply dates and times to the data. So you can have a spreadsheet. Not many people know this, but you can have a spreadsheet of posts that you want to put in WordPress, right? Where each column represents a different field for WordPress. The post date that you want it to go live. So if it's in the future, it will schedule it. The title of the post, which is a common WordPress element, which is going to match your image title in this case. The post content, which would be the description of the image, the categories that you want to use, and a list of tags. So once you have this data in a CSV, you can import it into WordPress and schedule out your posts hourly, by the minute. I do them hourly. So I'll do this 1,000 images at a time. My assistant will give me 1,000 images in the database, and I'll apply the data, the metadata, to the PDFs, to the JPEGs. I'll upload the JPEGs, and then I'll spit out the CSV, and I import that using the WordPress CSV import tool. There's a free one that you can get. If you need a link to it, just hit us up. We'll get you the link to that. But once you import this database, you can actually just set your posts to drip out hourly, which is really cool. So what I do is I import the database into WordPress, and I have it update every hour. So for 1,000 hours, I have a new update every hour going into my website, which is really good because you've got regular updates, which looks really good to Google, and we have it go out to like Pinterest and Twitter and all these other places when it goes live. So we syndicate the post, as most of you probably know how to do. And I also have the CSV export spit out a Pinterest submit URL, so it turns the keywords into hashtags, which are really important on Pinterest. So this is getting a little bit high level here. This is if this is confusing you, don't worry, because it confused a lot of people who watched the presentation. We're gonna dial this in a second here. So this is what Exif Utility looks like. This is the software that we use, that my assistant uses to catalog the images. And as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. Shows you the image. You can give it a title, copyright notice, the author name, the image description, and keywords. I'm going to show you how this software works in a second, but it has some really cool tools that it uses over and above. But I want to show you, if you're watching this and you're wondering, okay, how do we apply this metadata to our images? There's a few options for doing this. You don't have to necessarily do it using our software. Adobe Bridge does this. If you have any of the Adobe products, you can do this in Adobe Bridge. Adobe Bridge is good. It allows templates. It allows bulk image processing. It's pretty fast, and it works with most formats. If you don't have Bridge, but you have any copies of Photoshop, Photoshop also will edit metadata. It's a little bit slower, and it only works on one image at a time. But again, it works with most formats. And then Exif Utility is our software. I actually had this developed for this workflow to make my life easier, and it's just been one of those things where every time I show it to another marketer, they're like, how do I get a copy of this? So we decided to have it coded so that it would work on Mac and PC. Exif Utility is 97 bucks. It's lightning fast, processes bulk images, has thesaurus integration, which we'll show you in a sec. Auto-completes suggestions for you. It renames the images, and it will give you the CSV export that you can then format for WordPress. So we'll talk about that in a sec. So if you open up one of my images in Bridge or Photoshop, you'll see all this data goes right along with it, right? Every field that you see that's filled in here is attached to this image. It goes with it everywhere it goes. Here is the watermark JPEG, right? Same image now has my watermark on it. You can see the little VECTORTOONS bubbles on it. This data, the document title, the description, and the keywords go with the JPEG everywhere the JPEG goes. And here's something cool. A lot of people don't know this. When you optimize the metadata in your images, that metadata populates other fields. So if you upload that image now to WordPress, the title and the description autofill into the title and description fields in the media upload utility inside WordPress. Same thing happens in Flickr. So if you upload this image to like an image sharing website and it's got metadata optimized, it will automatically fill in a lot of the fields for you depending on the site. Some of them pick up more than others. Some of them pick up keywords, some of them don't. But the metadata, because it goes everywhere with the image, means you don't have to retype it over and over again. If anybody who does this kind of stuff knows, it's a real pain to retype titles and kind of always use this stuff over and over again. And this is what the final WordPress post looks like on my website. So there's the JPEG image that's optimized. Same title that's embedded in the metadata in the image is also the WordPress title. The product description is the image description that we used in the database, and the tags are the keywords that we used in the database. So, all this data is syndicated in all the right places so that it indexes really well, and it's easy for people to find on my website, easy for Google to find the images, and once purchased or downloaded, easy to find on the hard drive. Right? If you search for any of the images, or sorry, any of the keywords in these tags, once you have the image on your hard drive, you search for that internally on your hard drive, that image is going to show up in your search, which is kind of cool. So I'm just going to switch screens here, and I'm going to show you EXIF Utility, the software. Well, that's me.
Hi again.
All right, you get to see my ugly bedhead again. All right. So this is EXIF Utility, and it's really simple how it works, right? You can import a folder full of images in here, right? In this case, I have, I think I've got 9 images in here, and we can just import the one folder at a time. You can have thousands of images in your database, or just one, or whatever. But in this case, we have 9 images in here, and this is how it works. So my assistant gets this database. And her job, I'm going to do her job today, which I'm terrible at. But we're just going to catalog this one image so you can see how easy it is to use EXIF Utility and why you would want to use this over, Bridge or something where you're just cataloging the images. This is really a keyword research tool that happens to also add the EXIF data to your images. So let's just give this a simple title, right? We're going to call this man. Gift boxes, we'll say. And then we write notice. In my case, I always just put in the year and the 14 VECTORTOONS.com, and then the image author is again just the website address. You put your name you want if you're an artist and you want to make it fancy or whatever. And then the image description. This is just going to be a longer description. So now, I expect more out of my employees than I do out of my own self, which is why I like to remove myself from the workflow. So I'm going to make it, this is going to be shorter than the normal image description, but let's just say blonde man in blue, free gift wrapped, getting a little bit more drill down here. Now here's where it gets fun, right? You've got all these keywords you want to come up with to catalog your image, but it's kind of hard to come up with tons and tons of keywords, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with man, and I'm going to type search. And what's cool here is we get 2 different result sets, right? We get the thesaurus result, which is phenomenal. There's a free thesaurus API that you plug into this. Doesn't cost you anything to get this data. And you get all these different terms here, and we can go in and we can remove, like obviously world and peace and Isle of Man don't necessarily belong. I mean, look at, I mean, these are crazy, all these things like valet and gentleman and gentleman's gentleman, and it comes up with a lot of crazy stuff. So you go through here and, you know, you get out the stuff that that you think you don't necessarily want to use, and you leave in the stuff that you do. So let me just go through this. He's not a manservant, is he? We'll call him somebody, that's fine. Civilian, we could leave in. Let's go. Mankind, human, gentleman, human being. Okay, and don't worry about duplicates because they're going to get removed anyway. And we just hit copy down, and what it does is it takes all the keywords left and it comma separates them for you. And you can do the same here with the Google autocomplete. You know, if you want any of these, the autocomplete usually isn't as good, but maybe like manpower would work in this case. You know, man on fire or man of steel. None of the rest of these work. But we'll just go with manpower. We'll copy that down, and then we can go back here and start again. So we can say gift. We can search for gift. So here we go, a bunch more stuff, right? Gift, endowment, natural endowment, giving, acquisition, natural ability, sharing, invest, give, present, enable. Okay, all those works. We're going to copy them down. Again, here we go. Gifts for men, that might work. Gift card exchange, gifts for mom.
Those autocompletes are the suggested search, top searches from Google.
You got it, yeah. These are from Google. Gift ideas for men, gift ideas for women, gift boxes, all of those work, so we'll copy them down. We could go all day long coming up with keywords, but you can see how if we had to type out keywords, you and I might only have brainstormed 5 or 10 keywords at this point, but we have quite a few more in here just from searching for those 2 things. So we could even go in here and say, okay, maybe this is a holiday thing, so we could say, you know, holiday, and we could search. Okay, so we get all this stuff. I'll just copy them all down here from there. We could say Christmas. All right, so we'll copy those. So we've got enough keywords, I think, to kind of understand what we're doing here. And then the last option here, which is, it's really up to you whether or not you want to use it, is to rename the image to match your title. So just like a WordPress post will have a slug, which would be, you know, man-carrying-gift-boxes, we can have this image renamed to man-carrying gift boxes, because right now it's named Shopping Collection Tom 009. Okay, so I'm going to apply this data just so we can take a look at the finished result. So apply the data. It's been written to the image, and now I'm going to swap out the screen I'm sharing with you. I hope you could see that because it said present to everyone there. I hope that actually presented to everybody. Did you see everything I was doing? You must have.
I saw.
Okay, so let's hope that it worked.
I'm getting yeses.
Okay, let's hope so. Okay, I got to pull up screen share again here. I just want to show you. So you can see here, we have a file called mancarryingboxes.pdf. And so it's actually the same as Shopping Collection 9, but it's renamed it to match our title. And if I do a get info, I'm going to have to let me just pull up that get info window for you here. Apologize for having to look at my ugly mug again. Okay. So this is what it looks like in the inspector on the Mac. You can open it up in a number of different programs to see what this looks like. But now you can see we have a title, we have the author in here, we have the keywords, the description's in here as well. It's just not showing in this window for whatever reason. But all of the metadata that we came up with in ExifUtility is now buried inside this PDF. And if we convert this PDF to a JPEG, this metadata will come with it. So it just gives you an idea of how easy the tool is to use and how easy it is to come up with the keywords that you might want to use. Obviously, you're going to get a lot more keyword ideas using our tool than you will just trying to type them out yourself, or you know, trying to have a thesaurus window open in your, whatever, in your browser while you're trying to do this in Bridge or whatever the software might be. So that gives you an idea of how that works. I'll take you back here to this one. All right, great. So EXIF utility is normally $197, but since you've been watching this webinar with us, we really wanted to sweeten the deal for you and make this a no-brainer. So we've cut the price down to 97 bucks. If you want to get a copy of EXIF utility, we're putting a buy button below this video right now. You should already be able to see it. Once this webinar is over, you won't be able to get the $97 price. You have to go to exifutility.com and get it for $197. So this is your opportunity to get it for $97 right now. And I know, Adam, that some questions have been coming in, so maybe we can go through those.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Let's pull this one in. How many keywords is too many?
Great question. So the question is, how many keywords is too many? I actually don't know the answer to that. I wish I could sit here and tell you Google wants you to have, X. Most SEO guys will say 20 is probably enough when you're talking about meta tags on your web page. Really, this comes down to your goal. For me, the goal was to have this file be easily found on the hard drive. I wasn't thinking about Google when I first started this process. So, if you have, if your goal is to have this searchable on the hard drive, there's really no maximum. You could have 100 keywords in here, and it just makes it easier to find. I don't know if there's a point where Google looks at it as too much, but I would imagine if the keywords are unique and they are on point with what the image represents, then there shouldn't really be an upper limit, right? And if they only read 20, then they're going to read the first 20, and the rest of them are just, are going to fall off. So most cases, people who have too many keywords don't get penalized for using too many. So I don't know that that there is such a thing as too many. But if you're worried about beating it up too much, I would say 20 is probably a safe number. Like I tell my assistant, 20 to 40 keywords per image.
Okay. Is that helpful? Yes. Get a yes in the box. I really like that rename image to match because we know anybody who knows SEO knows that is helpful when your title and the name of your image match. Google likes that.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool feature. Here's one. Why should somebody use this tool, the EXIF utility, over using Bridge?
So
Adobe Bridge.
Adobe Bridge and Photoshop will allow you to edit the metadata, but they're not keyword research tools. So if you're really trying to come up with unique stuff and you want to make your job easy either for you or whoever works for you who's doing this, you really want to have keyword research built into the software. You don't want to have other windows open and be trying to open up Google Keyword Planner or some other keyword tool. You want to have a really good all-in-one solution that lets you get the data you need and copy it to the places you need with the least amount of friction. Especially if you're like me and you're cataloging thousands of images, you need to have this option. I'm actually just showing you here. This is the list view for EXIF utility, so you can actually, if you're doing multiple images, you can go in and edit them in a list mode so that you can get things done faster. Especially if you kind of already know what your keywords are or whatever that might be, or if you just want to go in and fine tune, you can do that. And then the other cool thing is you can actually, if you could have 1,000 images in here. If you click this Apply All button, it's going to apply all the metadata to all the images and rename them all at once. So it can save you a lot of time. You don't have to do them one image at a time like I showed here where you click Apply Data. You can actually have 1,000 of them at once and just have it update them all at once. So yeah.
Very cool. Let's see. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay, good. Let's see. When you upload the images to your website, do you then need to submit them to Google for indexing?
No, I don't. I don't remember the last time I actually submitted anything to Google, but your website obviously is probably already being indexed by Google. So just by nature of putting up new posts on your website and having a sitemap on file, like most, that's SEO 101 kind of stuff, having the sitemap on file. Your sitemap will update, Google will query your sitemap at some point, and then we'll start to see new images. And the more often you do this, the more often they'll check your site for new updates. Like we update hourly, and Google is querying our site all the time.
Sure, and you were saying that the EXIF utility will output a CSV file for you to be able to schedule your posts on your WordPress site.
Right. So you can export the data right out of here as a CSV. It's really simple to do. We've got instructions for how to do that. But yeah, you can export this data out in a number of different formats, or just copy and paste it. If you're just doing one or two at a time, you can just copy and paste the data right into a WordPress post window if you're just doing a few at a time.
Sure. Okay. Let's see. Other questions we got here is a good one. So does the metadata that's written with the EXIF utility go with the image once if it's resaved or converted to a different format?
Yeah, in most cases, now this really depends on the software that's doing it, but in my experience, more often than not, the metadata goes with the image. So if you open a JPEG and resave it, or right-click Save As to your desktop or something like that, the metadata usually does follow the image everywhere it goes, unless you're putting it through some kind of batch conversion tool that specifically doesn't take metadata. Most software is designed to carry the metadata because the data that goes with it is often very important to the next user, right? The image settings or the GPS settings or whatever it might be. So not 100% of the time, but most of the time when it's converted to another format, unless it's a non-metadata compatible format, like there's a couple of formats, they're not used as often, like BMP and stuff like that, older image formats that may not have metadata. But if it's a JPEG file and it stays a JPEG file, the metadata will go with it everywhere.
Okay. All right. Well, here's a good one, SEO related question. Let's say I don't sell stock images like you do. How does this work for me if I'm, say, a dentist or an affiliate marketer?
Yeah, I get this a lot. This was actually a question that came up at the event. And the answer is pretty simple. I mean, any image that you post to your website, whether it's just the header image at the top of an article or whatever, should be optimized, right? If you're a dentist, and you've got before and after pictures of cosmetic dentistry or whatever it might be, then those images you're going to want to rank in Google. If someone's trying to find information on a root canal, and you've got an article about root canals on your website, then the image that shows up should be some type of tooth image that matches root canal, because often people will click on the image because they're trying to see what it looks like. Oh, I got to get this root canal. I got to see what this looks like. They'll click on the image, and then they'll wind up on your website. So cataloging and optimizing images is just as important if you're a dentist or if you're an affiliate marketer. A great example that I use with affiliate marketers is you're selling products, download the images of those products, watermark them to match your website address so that if people reuse them somewhere else, which they often will, your name goes with it, and then apply the metadata to those images of the products that you're selling, and then use those images on your website. So you're using the original product images, but now you've added value to them. And often by doing that, you'll sometimes outrank the actual product image that's on Amazon or whatever website you're promoting.
Wow, that's brilliant.
If I'm searching for treadmills or something on Google, right, often the image results is where people start because they're looking at the treadmill images to see which one that matches the one they saw at their gym or the one that their friend has or whatever it might be. And if you're ranking above, if I've gone in and I've searched for Precor treadmill and your image ranks ahead of the one on on the landing site that you're promoting, then often you will get the affiliate cookie, right? Because people will click through your website, they'll click on your affiliate link to buy the treadmill.
Yep, exactly. That's so cool. Tell us about these icons next to the fields in the EXIF utility. It's like a little broom. What does that do?
Yeah. So oftentimes, right, we want to have, so if I go back to the list, you'll see that only the one image has been cataloged, right? The rest of them have blank fields. But let's say, as for instance, I know that I want every one of these to say 2014 VECTORTOONS.com, right? I click this little sweep button, and I just click replace, and I can actually change what I put in here. I can, make it anything that I want. But in these two cases, I want these two things to echo across every image. Well, now you can see, because I hit that sweep icon, all of the images now have this data in them. So the copyright notice is always the same. I don't want to have to retype it on every single image, so I just hit that sweep button. And I can do the same, if all these images follow a certain theme, as a for instance, right? I can just go to the last image here, which is the one that we worked on, and I can copy the keywords as well, and then maybe I go into each one and customize the keywords a little bit, or just edit them down a little bit, or add something unique to that one image. Same with the description, maybe or maybe the title. I just it's maybe all my images are a man carrying gift boxes, so I want to start with that. I echo that across all the images, and then I go in to the list and I change the color of his shirt, or whatever is unique about that image, because you want each title to be unique. So you don't necessarily want to copy and use the same title, description, and keywords in every single image, but you might want to start with this and edit it through. So it just gives you that option. It's just designed to make life easier when you're working with lots of images.
Sure, and that list view is just brilliant. So the workflow makes it so much easier if you or your outsourcers working on that can just go right down through and make those changes. I think it's just awesome. Getting some cool feedback in the chat window too. Everybody thinks that's really cool, and just remember, you guys, if you want to grab a copy, do it here on the webinar, because you're going to save $100 versus if you wait and have to go to the website to buy it. So get it now for $97 instead of waiting and having to buy it for $197. That's a really cool opportunity, and I know I'll be using this in my business for sure.
Absolutely. I just want to show you an example of one of my rankings, just to kind of close this off, because people often want to see what the rankings are going to look like. So let me just pull it up here. This is a Google image search for baby bottle. And I didn't even search for baby bottle vector here, which is actually what I normally rank for. But my image here is in the top 3 rows on VECTORTOONS.com. And if you visit the page, it'll take you right through to VECTORTOONS.com, straight to that where that baby bottle is being sold, and actually takes you to the baby bottle search term, so you can actually see my baby collection and my my other related stuff. So it takes them to a pretty good page. And if I put in vector in here, which is what more people will search for in my situation, I actually rank number 3. My image is number 3 in that list. So the more on point, the better. In my case, I rank for a lot of terms with vector. So if I search for baby vector, same kind of thing. You'll see here I'm number 2. This is my image. I'm the second image in the baby vector search, and I'm also here. This is mine as well. So I have a few images that rank in the top couple of rows, top 2 rows for baby. And in fact, if you look over here, there's bottle, and there's my bottle image.
Yep.
Right. So this is just to kind of give you an idea of some of my rankings and how they show up in Google Images. And when you search baby bottle vector in just regular Google, right, you get these images at the top. This is prime real estate, right?
Yeah,
I'm number 3 here. I'm the 3rd image. Again, this is my image. So search for baby bottle vector. I'm the 3rd image at the absolute top of Google. And the funny thing is, my website doesn't rank very high at all. Like finding my web result in here, I don't even think I'm in the top 100. So because I rank the image and I've optimized the image, because all these other guys have beat me, right? All these other vector and stock sites, they all have, they've done all their link building and they've outranked me. They've been at this for way longer than me. But what they're not doing is they're not optimizing their metadata on their images. So I have them beat in one way, which is I'm optimizing metadata.
Right. Brilliant. And then as we saw from those Google data results that you shared, you were getting a ton of clicks off of these images too.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Any more questions, you guys, for Brad before we end? It doesn't look like it. It looks like everybody's really excited about this and enjoyed the presentation. I certainly did. Do you have anything more you'd like to share with the group, Brad?
No, I just want to say if you're watching this, now's the time to grab this for 97 bucks. It's a really simple software program. We should mention that it works on both Mac and PC, and it's native software. This isn't some like web-based software or something that's going to be really slow and clunky. This is written in C. It's like Mac PC compatible software, so you don't need if you're on a Mac, you don't need to have some Windows emulator to run it. As you can probably already tell if you're a Mac user, I am too. So really important that this worked on the Mac and the PC just as easily. So highly recommend that you pick it up now while you're watching this, because the price is $197 normally. So you can get it for $97 right now. And again, I mean, it doesn't take much for this to pay for itself, right? If you have anywhere near the kind of traffic that I have, paying for a piece of software like this, I mean, I paid thousands of dollars to have this developed for my outsourcer, and I just had it developed for me. It was worth thousands of dollars to me just to have it made. And then once I had it made, guys like Adam and other people were hitting me up and saying, "Hey, man, we got to sell this. Like, this is awesome." So we just decided to make it available to other people, because it was it's one of those things where it was just so valuable in my workflow. And I figured I'd get some of my development money back if I started selling it. But I paid thousands of dollars to have it made, and it was still valuable. And I think for $97 is a joke. I mean, you don't have to get much traffic from Google to make $97.
Exactly. No, it's a great piece of software. I'm really excited about it. We appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for joining us, and got some thanks Brads in the group chat. So every thanking you for sharing this with us and for sharing your time with us.
Thank you, and we'll stop this broadcast now, and hopefully you'll grab EXIF utility.
All right, thanks.
See ya.